Bikini Bottom is quiet, not peaceful, just still, as if it's waiting for something. The Krusty Krab stands alone on its familiar corner, but its once bright sign is sun-faded, the K hanging slightly askew. Inside, Squidward sits behind the register with a blank stare. No customers, no music, just the soft hum of a rusty ceiling fan. He sighs, another day, just like the last 100. Mr. Krabs stands in the kitchen doorway, arms crossed, looking at the empty grill. He doesn't say a word. He hasn't in days. Then he does something he hasn't done in years. He walks out front and tapes a sign to the window. Help wanted. Same font, same color, same spot, but it's not the same. Somewhere in a quieter part of town, a sponge awakens. His pineapple house is overgrown, the mailbox is broken, the air feels different, thicker, heavier. SpongeBob looks in the mirror. He's still got that spark in his eye, but it's buried under years of silence. He picks up an old spatula from the counter. It's worn, the edges dulled from thousands of flips. He stares at it for a long time. Then he sees something out his window, a glint, the Krusty Krab sign. The corners of his mouth curl into a faint smile, just for a second. He puts on his square pants, ties his tie, and steps out the door for the first time in what feels like forever. Today isn't a new beginning. It's the end. The bell above the Krusty Krab door jingles, just like it always did, but this time, it carries weight. SpongeBob steps inside, his shoes echoing across the empty tile floor. Squidward looks up from the register and nearly drops his cup of kelp tea. SpongeBob? He asks, unsure if it's really him. SpongeBob smiles, but it's a smaller smile than Squidward remembers. Hey Squidward, you guys still hiring? Before Squidward can respond, Mr. Krabs storms out of the kitchen, claws raised, ready to shout, ready to scold, but then he freezes. For a moment, it's like time stops. He hasn't seen that face in years. You came back, Mr. Krabs says, barely above a whisper. Just for today, SpongeBob replies. Mr. Krabs glances at the grill. Still know how to work that thing. SpongeBob nods and walks straight to it. He runs his fingers over the knobs like a pianist reacquainting himself with an old piano. With a flick, he lights it. The sizzle of heat is instant, familiar, like shaking hands with an old friend. Outside, a rumble grows. A crowd of anchovies appears on the horizon. Hundreds, maybe thousands. They storm toward the Krusty Krab in a tidal wave of hungry chaos. Squidward panics. Not again, we're doomed. But SpongeBob doesn't flinch. With speed and grace honed over years, he ties on his spatula belt, slides across the floor, and positions himself behind the grill. The anchovies burst through the doors, swarming the tables and counter. SpongeBob gets to work. He flips patties faster than the eye can follow. Steam fills the room. Anchovies cheer. Orders fly. And SpongeBob handles each one like a machine fueled by passion and memory. Mr. Krabs watches in awe. Squidward, for once, is speechless. This isn't a rookie's big break, it's a farewell performance. The last show of a living legend. As the crowd is fed and satisfied, SpongeBob wipes sweat from his brow. Order up, he whispers. He's not trying to impress anyone. He's saying goodbye. As SpongeBob flips patties with practiced precision, the smell of sizzling Krabby Patties triggers something deeper. Memories, vivid and sharp. Flashback. A much younger SpongeBob, bright-eyed and fresh out of boating school, after failing the test for the 39th time, stands outside the Krusty Krab. He holds a job application in both hands, trembling with excitement. Mr. Krabs laughs in his face. Come back when you're not just a square in pants. But SpongeBob doesn't give up. He trains. He studies cooking manuals. He invents the Krabby Patty Flipping Simulator 2000. Day after day, he practices. He dreams. He even builds a mini Krusty Krab in his living room, flipping burgers for plush anchovies. Then, years later, he finally gets the job. Another flash. He's in the kitchen, nervous, first aid jitters. He burns a patty. Mr. Krabs yells, Squidward groans. But SpongeBob keeps smiling, keeps trying, and soon he's the best cook Bikini Bottom has ever seen. A montage rolls. Mr. Krabs handing him his first Employee of the Month plaque. Squidward accidentally smiling at one of SpongeBob's jokes. Patrick and Sandy sitting at their usual booth cheering him on. A young customer hugging SpongeBob after a perfect burger. But things changed. Gary grew older. The laughter at the Krusty Krab became routine. Sandy left for Texas on a research grant. Patrick grew distant, more reclusive. The job became muscle memory. The joy faded. Then came the day SpongeBob walked out. No big goodbye, just silence. He left his spatula on the grill, locked his pineapple house, and disappeared into the reef. It wasn't dramatic, it was heavy. He thought he'd only be gone for a little while. But a little while turned into years. Now back in the Krusty Krab, flipping burgers again, SpongeBob sees all those moments replaying in his mind like old home videos. He flips, serves, smiles, but every movement is layered with history. And these aren't just burgers, they're closure. The day SpongeBob left Bikini Bottom, things didn't fall apart immediately, but they definitely bent. At first, nobody believed he was really gone. He had always bounced back from setbacks, failing another boating test, burning his toast, losing his spatula in jellyfish fields. SpongeBob always smiled, always returned the next morning shouting, "I'm ready!" But not this time. The first week passed in stunned silence. Patrick knocked on the pineapple door every day. He left jellyfishing nets by the mailbox. He even brought donuts, but the lights never turned back on. The Krusty Krab kept running, barely. Mr. Krabs hired temporary cooks, a jellyfish tamer, a robot from Shelltech, even a mysterious deep-sea chef named Dave. But none of them had the flair, the heart, or the hands of SpongeBob. The patties came out soggy, burnt, or just wrong. Customers complained. Then they stopped showing up altogether. Without business, Mr. Krabs grew desperate. He reduced prices. He offered free hats. He even teamed up with Plankton once in a brief, doomed Krabby and Chum combo meal campaign. Nothing worked. He spent more and more time in his office, staring at SpongeBob's old time card, still hanging from the wall. He never clocked out. Mr. Krabs never took it down. Squidward for a while was thrilled. No noise, no interruptions. He could finally paint in silence. But silence, when too constant, stops feeling peaceful. He started turning up the radio, talking to himself, wishing, though he'd never admit it out loud, for SpongeBob to barge in singing off-key. Even Sandy couldn't take it. She stayed in Bikini Bottom for a few months, checking in on everyone, organizing science fairs, even trying to cheer up Patrick. But the energy wasn't there. "This place used to feel like an experiment gone wonderfully wrong," she said once. "Now it's just an empty tank." One morning, she packed up her tree dome and left. Back to Texas, she told the town, for research. But everyone knew the truth. She missed the way Bikini Bottom used to be. As for Plankton, without SpongeBob foiling his every plan, stealing the Krabby Patty secret formula became boring. He actually got his hands on it once, but shut down his whole operation the next day. "There's no fun in winning when your nemesis is gone," he sighed. The town itself started to reflect the mood. The jellyfish fields were less vibrant. The lagoon wasn't buzzing with music anymore. No more bubble-blowing competitions. No more spontaneous musical numbers. No more imagination sessions inside cardboard boxes. Bikini Bottom had lost its heart. It didn't collapse, it simply faded, became dull, predictable. Now, as SpongeBob flips burgers once more, the townspeople feel something stirring, an energy they'd forgotten. Customers peek through the Krusty Krab windows. The sky looks a little bluer. Even Squidward taps his foot, almost catching the rhythm again. For the first time in a long time, Bikini Bottom breathes. And they all know why. The help wanted sign wasn't supposed to come back. It had been tucked away in a cracked drawer behind Mr. Krabs' desk for years, along with ancient receipts, faded treasure maps, and a napkin with the original Krabby Patty recipe scribbled on it. It had yellowed at the corners, and the tape stuck to the back was brittle, flaking off like sea dust. That morning, Mr. Krabs had wandered into the dining area long after opening time, looked out at the empty tables, and sighed deeper than he had in a decade. Something in his claws trembled, a feeling he hadn't admitted even to himself. He walked into his office, reached into the drawer, pulled out the sign. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was guilt, or maybe it was something heavier. Longing, the kind of longing you only feel when the best days are behind you, and you realize you didn't appreciate them enough when they were here. He smoothed the wrinkles as best he could, grabbed a fresh piece of tape, and posted the sign in the window. Help wanted. The same font, same color, same window. But this time, it wasn't about filling a position. It was a call, maybe even a message. Across town, SpongeBob was already awake. He hadn't slept much the night before. He rarely did anymore. His cave home was tidy, almost too tidy. No clutter, no jellyfish nets, no bubble wands, just a single hammock, a few books, and his old spatula resting on a small rock shelf. The spatula didn't shine like it used to. The grip was worn, the edges dull, but SpongeBob still picked it up every morning. He held it like a keepsake, not a tool, just to remember. He went out walking, not to any place in particular, just letting his feet carry him. The ocean currents whispered softly around him, carrying voices from a town that used to sing. Then he saw it, the Krusty Krab. It didn't look the same. The sign was rusted, one of the windows was cracked, but he would have recognized it anywhere. And there in the window, slanted slightly like it always was, help wanted. He stopped cold. His heart didn't race, but his hand tightened around the spatula in his pocket. He stood still for a long time. He could turn away, keep walking, keep living in the shadows of a life already lived. But something pulled him forward. Not ambition, not curiosity, something deeper. SpongeBob straightened his tie, not the fresh one he used to wear every day, but the same one he'd kept tucked in a drawer all these years. A little faded, a little loose, but familiar. And he walked, slowly, firmly, toward the sign, toward the kitchen, toward the place where he left a piece of himself. This wasn't about getting a job, it was about finishing a story. As SpongeBob stepped behind the grill, the kitchen didn't just come alive, it awakened. The knobs turned with a satisfying click. The pilot flame ignited in a burst of heat. The grease on the grill sizzled as if it remembered him. This wasn't muscle memory anymore. This was instinct. He tightened the strap on his spatula belt, tied on a faded Krusty Krab bandana he hadn't worn in years, and stood tall. His reflection shone faintly in the grease shield. Older, maybe, but still him. Then came the sound, a distant rumble muffled by water. At first it was easy to ignore, like a cargo truck passing outside, but it grew louder and louder. The ground trembled. Squidward, looking out the front window, turned pale. Oh no, it can't be anchovies. Hundreds of them, maybe thousands, pouring over the ridge like a tidal wave of open mouths and empty stomachs. Their chatter echoed through the town. Meal, meal, meal. Mr. Krabs burst out of his office. What in Neptune's name is happening? We can't handle a crowd like that. But SpongeBob didn't move. He took a deep breath, lowered his stance, and raised his spatula like a knight ready for his final duel. This is it, he muttered. One last order rush. The front doors flew open as the anchovy swarm filled the restaurant. Tables toppled, booths shook. Squidward dove behind the counter with a scream, and SpongeBob went to work. Flame, sizzle, flip. He danced across the kitchen like a seasoned performer. Buns toasted to golden perfection. Lettuce landed in perfect spirals. Ketchup and mustard squirted in sync like paint from an artist's brush. But this time it wasn't chaos. It was choreography. The same SpongeBob who once flailed with excitement now moved with calm control. Each patty hit the grill with just the right timing. Each bun was buttered with precision. The anchovies, wild with hunger, quieted. They were mesmerized. In seconds, they were eating. In minutes, they were cheering. Mr. Krabs stood in stunned silence, watching the revenue climb, but not saying a word. Squidward peeked up from behind the counter, jaw slack. He's better than before. No, Mr. Krabs whispered. He's perfect. Hours passed like seconds, and then the final customer left. The anchovy horde had been fed. The Krusty Krab was spotless again. SpongeBob turned off the grill. No fanfare, no applause, just silence, and the smell of a job well done. He placed the spatula on the counter with a soft clink, looked around at the restaurant he had once made famous. Every corner held a memory, every stool a story. He didn't smile with glee, he smiled with peace. It was over, not because he failed, because he finished. The doors of the Krusty Krab swung slowly behind SpongeBob as he stepped outside. The sky above Bikini Bottom glowed in warm oranges and purples. Jellyfish floated lazily past the coral ridge. The streets were empty, save for the soft sound of ocean currents brushing over sand. SpongeBob didn't look back, not because he didn't care, because he didn't have to. Inside, the restaurant was still, the kitchen was clean, the lights hummed. Mr. Krabs stood behind the counter, holding the apron SpongeBob had folded so precisely. In his other claw, the old spatula, worn, bent slightly from years of use, edges dulled not by neglect, but by love. He walked slowly to the Employee of the Month wall. All those pictures of SpongeBob, month after month, year after year. The wall ended years ago after SpongeBob left, but now one final thing joined them. Mr. Krabs placed the spatula in a glass case, mounted on the wall beside the last photo. A brass plaque below read, "Employee Forever." No starting date, no ending date. Just the truth. Squidward lingered by the register, arms crossed. He looked at the wall, then at the door. He really did it, he said quietly. He walked away. Mr. Krabs nodded. Aye, but he didn't leave us. The restaurant fell silent, not sad, but meaningful. It wasn't emptiness, it was presence, like the echo of music after the last note has played. Outside, SpongeBob kept walking. His tie loosened, his shoes quiet against the sandy path. The ocean around him was calm, familiar sights passed him by. The chum bucket, the boating school, jellyfish fields, all of them part of a life well lived. He passed Goo Lagoon, where the waves lapped gently at the shore. He paused for a moment, looked out at the horizon. The light caught his face. A small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. He exhaled, not in sadness, in peace. He had given everything, his energy, his heart, his joy, to a town that didn't know how much it needed him until he was gone. But now it would be okay, because he had come back once, long enough to remind them. And then, without a sound, SpongeBob stepped beyond the reef, into deeper waters, into the unknown, and the sea carried him gently away. No final words, no dramatic music, just the ocean, just the tide, just peace. If you enjoyed this expanded look at what if SpongeBob's first episode was actually the end, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more what if scenarios. Let us know what other SpongeBob questions you'd like us to explore next.